Welcome to our first refrigeration course, which is core refrigeration. Today we're going to be talking about safety, and we need to start every course we do with this idea of safety and keep it fresh in everyone's mind. Throughout this course, you're going to be dealing with pressures, okay? Pressures in containers, refrigerant cylinders, nitrogen cylinders. So we're going to start there. We can actually have dangerous pressure buildup in the vessel, which is the canisters. We want to make sure we store refrigerant cylinders in an upright position. You want to only move large cylinders like nitrogen cylinders with the protective cap in place. We want to make sure we secure them to carts. Don't try dragging them across the floor. And we want to make sure we wear gloves and eye protections anytime you're handling a refrigerant. Okay, so here we're talking about an R22 cylinder. R22 is one of the types of refrigerants that you will use during the course of this term. And we want to make sure that tanks don't fall over. The problem is not necessarily the tank itself. The problem is with that, with the valve cover, okay, the valve stem which is under this protective cover. Okay, so as the tank falls over, that cover can actually knock itself off, and that tank can become a massive airborne basically an airborne container, almost like a rocket. We also deal a lot with electricity through this course. We need to exercise caution when working on or around electrical circuits. Okay, an uncontrolled electrical current. In other words, if you stick your hand or a tool that your hand is holding into a live circuit, you can actually have that current flow through your hand, down through your body, and depending on voltage, it can cause shocks or burns. Everyone does not react the same way to electrical. Okay, follow lockout tagout procedures, which your instructor will talk to you about, and exercise caution when working on live circuits. You do not want to come into contact with energized conductors. So if you're using a meter or another tool inside a live circuit, which you will have to as a HVAC technician, you just need to avoid contact directly with those energized conductors. Shock occurs when you become part of the electrical circuit. Okay, the severity of the shock depends on voltage, the current, and the path the current takes as it flows through your body. Current flow through your heart can be fatal. To help avoid some of this, you always want to wear insulated boots, and you never want to stand in water while working on equipment. Ground wires provide protection from electric shocks since they provide a better path for the current to take than through your body. All tools should be properly grounded. Never use tools that have damaged or missing ground plugs. In other words, if you come across a tool where a prior technician or someone else has clipped the ground plug off or bent it back to make it fit into an outlet without a ground plug, don't use it. Okay? Ground protection is very important. Okay, ungrounded tools only have two prongs. One supplies the line voltage and the other is neutral. Okay, if that tool goes bad, okay, and becomes grounded, the current flow can flow through the tool and then through you to the ground. Okay, because there's no ground plug on that cord. Now, if we have ground protection, okay, grounded tools have three prongs. You have a line, neutral, and common. So if that tool becomes grounded, the current will flow to the ground through the ground prong, protecting the user. Okay, because that wire in that ground plug has slightly less resistance than you do. If wall outlets only have two connectors and the tool has three prongs, use an adapter. Plastic case tools are double insulated and they'll only have two prongs. Battery operated tools are convenient and safer, and ground fault interrupt connectors, GFCIs, detect small electrical leaks to ground. Try to avoid wearing metallic jewelry, especially when you're working on electric circuit. This includes necklaces and other jewelry on your hands, like wedding rings and other rings are not usually a good idea. Don't use a screwdriver in an electrical panel when the power is on, and burns can result from electrical sparks. Be careful about that. Electrical sparks, shock, or burns can result if the screwdriver slips and makes contact between a hot terminal and ground. So anytime you're working with a screwdriver, like unscrewing or rescrewing something in an electrical panel, turn the power off, because those sparks can actually cause a lot of problems. When you're on a ladder, use non-conducting ladders, preferably fiberglass or, if necessary, wood. Helps if the wood is dry. Place the ladders on a level, stable surface. Never use damaged ladders. If you come across a damaged ladder, make a supervisor aware of it and mark it so that nobody else uses it. Try to keep your ladders free of oil, grease, and other slippery situations. Be sure the ladders have slip-resistant feet and use them. Secure the ladder in place whenever possible, so the first time you go up the ladder, secure it to the edge of the roof so that it doesn't slip down and leave you stranded or fall over while you're on it. Heat is another real problem. Burns in this industry are frequent. Keep torches away from combustible material. Always keep fire extinguishers nearby when working on flammable materials. Use a fire shield when soldering near combustibles. Never solder tubing on a sealed system. In other words, you want to make sure pressure does not build up while you're soldering. Take the proper precautions when working near hot pipes and motors. Burns can be a result of handling hot pipes. Take proper precautions against heat-related illness when working indoors, for example in attics or outdoors in extreme heat. Cold can be just as dangerous as heat. Liquid refrigerant can cause frostbite. When you let R22 out of a cylinder or out of a system, it's going to boil off at negative 41 degrees Fahrenheit. In other words, that liquid refrigerant, when it hits your skin, is going to freeze your skin down to negative 41 degrees. Be careful. Try to wear gloves and hand protection, and don't get liquid refrigerant on you. If a system starts to leak, let it leak. There's nothing you can do to stop it until it all leaks out. Wear warm clothing and waterproof boots when working in cold, wet environments. Okay, whether outdoors or in low temperature freezers. Just because the freezer's inside does not mean it's safe for you to be in. Try never to wear loose-fitting clothing or jewelry around moving machine parts. These items can get caught up in pulleys, belts, and fans, resulting in serious injury. Always use eye protection when working on or around machinery. And don't try to stop a moving machine by hand. Okay, because your fingers will get pulled into the belts. Try to observe standard safety procedures when moving heavy or awkward objects. Ask for help if needed and use hand trucks. Okay, you can also use dollies and carts, but make sure that stuff on there is secured so it won't fall over. Use proper lifting techniques at all times. Lift with the legs, knees bent, not your back muscles. You only have one back, and there's a lot of back injuries that come from this. Never twist from the waist while carrying items. Rotate the entire body in the direction you wish it to go. Wear protective lifting gear when possible. Back braces, gloves, etc. Okay, there's an ASHRAE standard 34-1992 that addresses refrigerant toxicity and flammability. Take a time and read that standard. It's available online as well as from your instructor. Ensure proper ventilation when servicing any type of HVAC equipment. Refrigerant will displace oxygen. You can drown to death in a dry room with a refrigerant leak. If there are special leak detectors and alarms in place for certain applications, make sure these detectors are functioning properly. Refrigerant gases are heavier than air. The gases displace oxygen and can suffocate a technician working in an enclosed space. Always work in a well-ventilated area and use proper safety equipment. Do not breathe in refrigerant vapors. Be careful working with chemicals. Chemicals are used to clean evaporators, condensers, and other equipment. We also use them for water treatment. Use extreme caution when handling all workplace chemicals. Find and follow the manufacturer's directions for use and disposal. If accidental exposure occurs, follow the manufacturer's first aid guidelines. You got to be careful when working around everything in this industry. Pressure, electricity, ladders, heat, cold, moving machinery, heavy objects and chemicals are all what we consider workplace hazards, but you cannot avoid these hazards. Follow all safety precautions in the workplace. Don't allow pressure buildup. Follow lockout tagout. Make sure electrical circuits are properly grounded. Ensure that all equipment is safe to use. Take care when working in extreme heat or cold. Be careful around moving machinery parts. Follow manufacturer's instructions for the proper use and storage of chemicals.